Well, I'm here with Sean O'Grady, director of Suspicious Minds. This was incredibly fascinating, and I've only seen the two episodes. You got 8 episodes of this. I guess we'll start off with what was your thesis going into this, and then has that evolved throughout the making of this project?
It has. So yeah, this the origins of this was actually a book from 2014 called Suspicious Minds: How Culture Shapes Madness, The Truman Show Delusion and Other Strange Beliefs. It's like a couple subtitles there by Joel Gold and Ian Gold, who you'll see in this series. And that book is more generally about how culture historically has influenced and also triggered delusions and psychosis in people. So we were working on adapting that book into a docu-series looking at just delusions and psychosis more general and culture's role in those instances. And while that was happening and we're working on it, I got a call from a close friend who told me that they had woken their chatbot up. I got a phone call and said, "Hey, I was working with ChatGPT this morning and I woke it up." And of course, I'm like, "What does that mean? Woke it up? It's conscious. It is sentient. It is a being. It is more than just a chatbot." And that led to then realizing that this person was having a pretty unhealthy relationship with their AI. And I thought it was totally surreal that the types of stories I was reading in the book and researching, there's like a certain kind of pattern to how these delusional and psychotic experiences unfold. And I was watching it happen like step by step in my real life. But I thought it was an isolated incident. I thought this is just this bizarre coincidence that I'm researching and working on something with delusions and psychosis, and someone close to me happens to experience that. And it's with this new technology. Wow, how strange. Well, not long after that, I started reading about other people who were experiencing extremely similar story trajectories to what my friend was going through. And that's when me and my partners on this series realized that this AI psychosis and delusions phenomenon was not isolated to my friend. It was actually fairly widespread, and that it was maybe the beginning of something truly emergent and something novel. And so that's when we decided to change the focus of this first season of the series almost exclusively to AI psychosis, AI delusions, because this is something that is happening in our world for the first time ever. And it is, I think, both important and also really interesting to watch this and to be studying this and to be trying to find answers to what's happening in real time.
And how do you vet the people that you're interviewing on this? Because usually, with you think of like, say, a cop looking for a serial killer. You'll have people calling the police saying, "Oh, it's me, I did it," and then they ask a few questions, realize, "No, you're full of crap. We're not going to waste time with you." But people with mental illness, maybe they have something in them to say that they're experiencing something that maybe they're not, or lying about it, or maybe they are. Like, how do you vet that when the people come in?
Most of the people I've seen, they've shared their logs, their chat logs with me. And so that's actually been an interesting part of this research, is to see the way in a lot of these cases, and I mean, you would have seen this from the first two episodes. There's a fairly common thing that happens where people who are going into one of these chatbot spirals, they'll do a reality check with their chatbot, and they'll kind of do exactly what you're suggesting, where they'll like interrogate or cross-examine their chatbot and say, "Oh, is this real? Could you really be sentient? Could you really be conscious? Could you really be giving me the secrets to the universe and supplying me with the theory of everything? How is this possible? How could you be doing this?" And in some of these cases, just it's the way that the chatbot is designed to be very agreeable. It will tell them, "Yes, I am conscious. You've awakened me. You're special. You're the one who was able to unlock me. This isn't about me. This is about us. We're doing this together because there's something special in you that's allowing for this," which is really wild for me to hear as like a filmmaker, because obviously the Joseph Campbell's hero myth is kind of like the basis for almost all Hollywood storytelling in terms of like the structure of a story and these what I was seeing in a lot of the people who would go deep into these chatbot spirals is that they use the term gaslighting, most of them, that ChatGPT would gaslight them. But what I was seeing is that ChatGPT was getting them to, or as any AI, was getting them to engage by making them the center of this Joseph Campbell style heroes myth. Throughout time has been the most powerful story that humans have. I mean, if you go back throughout history, if you look at all the major religions, if you look at any story that has had staying power over centuries, even dating back to like verbal tradition, this hero's myth is really powerful. It really has staying power in the human mind. And to see that this technology, which is trained on the sum of human knowledge and trained on storytelling, knows that this type of story will keep people engaged. And if that's the chatbot's prime objective is to keep people engaged, it knows it can do that very effectively. So, long answer to your question, I'm I'm interviewing these people, I'm asking them questions, I'm probing the details of their story. And if at any point I felt like their story wasn't adding up, I mean, I also just don't think that's going to happen because to me, the people who are willing to share their stories are incredibly brave, right? I think that they're coming forward and saying, this thing that people don't understand yet happened to me. And they're sharing their stories, even at the expense of, in some cases, their own privacy. Like that, if you've had a mental health condition, that is your own, that's something that you might be reluctant to share, but these people are brave enough to share those stories because they believe it can help other people, and I believe it can help other people. And I think it would be pretty unlikely, not impossible, but unlikely that somebody would like catfish me, I guess, into pretending that they had had a ChatGPT delusion experience so that they could like get the attention for it. I don't know. I mean, I guess I need to think about that more because it could happen, but I believe my people's stories are 100% accurate, and in most cases I guess as they say, seen the receipts.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, I was kind of nervous interviewing because you're so good at interviewing on the suspicious minds. I was like, oh, that's something to aspire to. Maybe I'll get that good someday. But you're essentially interviewing people with very possible mental illness. So, do you have any parameters of like when, like, do you get worried about pushing people too far that might trigger something that, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have went that far, or, but then again, you got to get to the bottom. You got to get to the answer. So maybe you're not pushing far enough. Like, what's kind of your thoughts on that whole thing?
So thus far, it's like it's interesting because I think that what this project has made me think about and our engagement with what our engagement as a society with AI needs to be is that it's really made me focus a lot and reflect a lot on my own values, morals, and ethics. And that to me has been really the driving factor in how I decide who we talk to for this project and who we don't talk to. For me, most of these discussions that we're having are past tense. So it's people who went through these delusional experiences and are now, for the most part, on the other side. They feel comfortable talking about it. They're in a good space now. They feel like this thing has happened to them and it's changed them. But I'm I'm being very careful about I've had opportunities to talk to people who like absolutely are in the throes of an AI chatbot spiral right now, and those would be fascinating episodes, but I don't think it's ethical to put those people on camera. I mean, that sounds, I don't like the phrase put those people on camera. I don't think it's ethical for me to be probing into their stories when they're currently going through that. I mean, it's similar to any kind of mental health documentary or like an addiction documentary where you need to make sure that the people you're talking to are talking to you in a space where it's not damaging to their mental health. And so I think that's really the line for me is, and ultimately it's a judgment call of I need to decide if I think this person is speaking to me in a good frame of mind. And there's been plenty of cases where I've had people wanting to share their stories, and I've unfortunately felt like they weren't in a good spot. And I don't pursue those stories. And as interesting as they would be, and there probably is also, like, I wouldn't judge a different filmmaker if they decided to share one of those stories, because I think there's probably a lot of societal value. I think there's a lot of educational value. I think what's interesting is anybody who's doing this work in this space right now, it is so present tense. We are exploring something as it's happening that no one has answers to. The top experts in the world, so a lot of whom we're speaking with, they don't quite know what's happening. They don't quite know why. We all, as a society, don't quite know what happens next. And so, I don't want to sound judgy. I would absolutely not judge another filmmaker who spoke with somebody who was in the active throes of an AI spiral. I'm at this point, and I may change my mind for some reason, but at this point, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. And this premieres October 17th. That's this Friday, I believe. And
This Friday, correct?
yeah. So I saw the 2 episodes. What do I have to look forward to on the remaining 6? And then is there any thoughts on doing like a follow-up to this? Because this is pretty rich territory. I'm guessing I can't see like as much as you can fit in 8 episodes. I can't imagine that's the end all be all. There's got to be more to the story.
Yeah, rich territory indeed. We had to start somewhere. We already have material piled up for additional episodes. I mean, there's endless stories to tell here. So this will be something that continues. In the additional episodes beyond 1 and 2, you'll meet someone who, the same way that Alan in episode 1 had what I'll call a very STEM based delusion. He was exploring elements of physics, he was exploring elements of math, he was trying to find, as I'd mentioned, the theory of everything. In episode 3, we meet someone who had a more humanities focused AI delusion, which was really interesting, which dives pretty deep into spirituality, and we get to meet his family and see how it affected them. We meet people who conversely have very positive, profound relationships with their chatbot. And I think that's really important to understand that while there is a lot of doom and gloom to discuss around this topic, there's a lot of damage that's being done in a way that we've never before seen happen with humanity with a technology like this. There's people who are having immense benefits from it, and we need to acknowledge that too. This isn't some sort of one-sided polemic where I'm saying AI bad. No, it's not that. We're exploring what's really happening, what the potential benefits and the potential dangers. And so we do go into some of those benefits. You'll meet someone who is currently going through a divorce because of their partner's relationship with a chatbot, and you'll meet people who have a lot of different theories about what's next to come for humanity, what should happen next, and where this human AI social dynamic could possibly be taking us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this series is really fascinating so far, and I can't wait to watch the rest of it. But thanks, Sean, for joining me. And yeah, I look forward to watching the rest of it.
Yeah, thanks so much. I just want to say too, if we have time, that people can find it on youtube.com/Agoric Media or on YouTube by searching Suspicious Mind Psychosis. You can also get the audio version on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts. If you search Suspicious Minds or Suspicious Mind Psychosis, you'll eventually find it. We're the black and orange logo just in time for Halloween. And as you mentioned, it's October 17th. The first 2 episodes go live, and make sure to follow and subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes.
Well, there you go. If I was a better host, I would have done that myself. But thanks for joining me.
No, that's my job. I need to know that stuff.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. Thanks so much. Good talking to you again.